everyone, it's Kelly here from Spiritual Awakening Signs. I can't wait for today's masterclass, all about how to recover from the intensity of spiritual awakening and utilise those spiritual awakening powers and all that high vibrational energy that is moving into your system without getting frazzled, because that is the problem that we tend to face quite often on the awakening pathway. We're going to cover all of that today. We've got a really exciting masterclass, jam-packed full of information. Get a paper and a pen because you're not going to want to miss this stuff. So in this video, we are going to cover why your awakening is so intense, because there is a specific reason why, how the spiritual awakening process has shocked and damaged your energy system, and how it's stopping you in your tracks, how I recovered from spiritual awakening, and you absolutely can too. 3 mistakes in spiritual awakening healing that you will not want to make. We're going to avoid those. 3 steps to heal your awakening, and the key to accessing the power of your awakening energies. Really, really exciting and a really cool topic, and of course something that we have been missing on the awakening pathway. It's guidance and information that we don't tend to be told about. So I'm really looking forward to sharing all of that with you today and hearing all your questions and feedback so that we can really help you to move forward. So if you've joined us live, please do say hello, tell me who you are and where you're from, and I'll give you a little shout out before we get into all this interesting and exciting stuff to do with spiritual awakening, because I know how tough it is. I know what it's like to be going through awakening, to be looking for information and to be searching on YouTube, searching on Google, looking for answers, and you can't really ever find any tangible step-by-step information that helps you to move forward. But we are doing that today. That's definitely happening today, so I cannot wait. So a few shout outs first. As I said, if you've joined us live, please say hello, tell me who you are and where you're from. We've got Jackson from Canada, we've got Maria. She says, hello, I can finally watch you live. I'm delighted you've been able to join us live. We've got Jodie Ann from Australia. We've got Anina, oh hello, from Finland. Fantastic. That's a newbie, I think. Fantastic, guys. Delighted that you could join us. And of course, no matter what time you join us, do let us know and give us your feedback as well. So we're going to get into this. Now, before we begin, there is a little bit of a history lesson before I give you the spiritual update for this time. Because there's some new developments in spiritual awakening. Now, spiritual awakening used to take a really long time. It was a long, slow process, and it may have been something that would have spanned maybe 20 years of your life. It used to be a long time thing, and it gave you time to breathe. It was still challenging, but it gave you time to acclimatise to these heightening energies, and it happened in a really slow progression, so it was a lot more manageable. It was easier to adjust to those heightening frequencies as you went along. But due to the state that the planet's in, we have been called as light workers. So there are a lot of people being incarnated right now who are from different planes, from different types of energies, and we are really incarnating here en masse to help lift the vibration of the planet and help humanity in general. So that's what we're here to do. We're supporting the energies. We're trying to make it a healthier, happier environment and trying to assist with healing. Now, the challenge that we've got is, because that has been so urgent a need, we've kind of been shoved through the awakening process a lot more quickly than our systems can really handle, if we're honest with it. Now, that is why that so many of us are struggling to deal with awakening, because it happens so much faster than it ever did before. We get shoved through it at a rate that is almost too much for the physical body and the mental capacity to manage and to get through. So it's really, really rough, not only on our physical selves, but on our energy bodies too. And as a result, the intensity of spiritual awakening has shocked your energy system. It's absolutely shocked your energy system. And of course, we are all really struggling with that. We've got more spontaneous awakenings happening now than ever before. And we've got people moving through the awakening process at lightning speed, which means that you've got all these emotions, all this intensity, all these new insights, all these changes happening all at one time, sometimes things in life crumbling away, and it can be really, really difficult. So the good thing is there is something that you can do about it, but we're going to get to that in a moment, because what I want you to understand is that when you go through awakening and it begins, there is a really high vibrational light that moves into your system, and it comes in and moves right down and or up the chakra system. So right along this central column with all your major chakras in it. And the problem with that is that it is created for a positive result. It's created to heighten our psychic senses, our intuition, our sensitivity, our emotions. It's all part of raising our vibration, healing our souls so that we can move through that process. But what is happening now is almost like a soul level PTSD. It's almost like a trauma, the way this energy moves through our system. It's so fast and so incredibly heightened and powerful that it's more quickly than our systems can actually handle, and it tends to cause a lot of problems. It's a bit like being hit in the head, and that's what leaves us wondering why awakening has happened and we're completely confused, we're dazed, we have no idea how to move forward, we don't really know what the hell has happened. It's just a really difficult situation. So there are things that we need to do and that we can do to heal that and to move forward. We need to repair the chakra damage. Now, I'm going to go into this in a moment, but your chakras, your major chakras, get damaged with the force of that powerful energy moving into the system. We want to release shock from your energy system because it absolutely registers in your energy system and in your soul like real shock, like a trauma. And we need to rebalance all of your energies to support your awakening process. We kind of need to show them how to manage with these new heightened energies so that you're getting the most out of it, so that it's not like an attack. It's something that you can use to move forward and grow spiritually and reconnect with the truest, most authentic aspects of your higher self and all the gifts and abilities that come with that. So we really want to recover from all the distress of the changes, and we want to acclimatise to the new heightened energies. And as I say, that's really going to help us to awaken more fully and to utilise that incredible spiritual power that it brings without becoming frazzled, without getting shell shocked, because that really is what's happening energetically, and being able to recover and move forward. Now, I'm going to get into how I recovered from spiritual awakening. I want to cover the fact that everybody thinks that it's easy. Everybody has this kind of concept or idea that awakening is really easy, that it happens in the blink of an eye, that suddenly you're just using your spiritual gifts and abilities, you're aligned with your life purpose, you're fully embodying your higher self, and it's all rainbows and butterflies and lovely, but it isn't. It isn't, and if you're watching this video, you know that too. Spiritual awakening isn't like that at all, and most people won't actually admit that. I'm here to tell you it's really tough. Spiritual awakening is messy, it's intense, it's emotional, it's overwhelming, it can be draining, and it can be really, really exhausting. Most people don't want to admit that it can be really tough. I think you and I are on the page where we're agreeing that it is really difficult. We want to know how to move through that. And I was similar, because when my awakening began, it was so full of wonderful spiritual insights and wonder that I really honestly thought that I would move through the stages pretty easily. I thought it would be quite a smooth process. I didn't really have any idea of how difficult awakening was because it wasn't covered. There's no information anywhere that says, buckle up because this is going to be rough. You just don't get it. People talk about how wonderful it is to reach enlightenment and to move into those energies, but they don't talk about how tough it is. And I thought, truthfully, that my life would get easier, not more difficult. And shortly after, I found that I was racked with anxiety. My emotions were all over the place, and I was really feeling sensitive and too empathic and completely overwhelmed, and my emotions were just so intense I did not know what to do. I just could not handle it. I can see someone's asking for louder, please. I hope you can hear me okay. I'll just turn up the volume here. Sorry about that, guys. Make sure you can hear me okay. I hope that's better. And to be honest with you, I felt kind of battered and bruised by the awakening process. I had no idea how to help myself, and no one else that I seemed to ask about it, even in the spiritual community, because I had a lot of other healer friends and people who were doing a lot of spiritual different things. Nobody knew what to do to help me. Nobody really understood the process. And then the challenge that I had was that, I'm thinking that there's something wrong with me. I'm looking at myself in the awakening and I'm thinking, right, I'm totally exhausted. I'm in a shell-shocked state. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to move forward. I don't know how to handle all these changes. It must be me. I must be so sensitive. It's because I'm such a sensitive soul. Maybe it's hit me harder than everyone else. That's what I thought. And that was until I started working years and years later. I was in that shell shock state for years, completely stuck, not knowing how to move forward. And years later, I started working with clients in intuitive healing sessions. And the incredible thing that I discovered about these clients, they had all gone through spiritual awakening. So when I was working with them, I was able to notice that they all had one thing in common. When I intuitively read them, every time I tuned into a different person who was going through awakening, the same thing came up, and it was that their energy systems were shocked by the awakening process too. They had energies that were traumatized. They had major chakras that were damaged as a result of this energy, and they'd sustained damage in different aspects of their energy throughout their system because of the intensity of this high vibrational energy. So it's like, oh my God, this is something that's happening to not just me, but everyone on the awakening pathway. It's too intense, and that's what I mean by the fact that it has changed. It's not the same as it used to be. It's not just about, going through awakening and it spans most of your life and you've got time to breathe in between everything. Now it's happening within a few years, sometimes within a few months, and we're getting, shoved through it as fast as possible, and it's just completely over the top. It's really, really tough. But there are wonderful benefits to it. Now, this is what I want you to know. I know it's difficult right now, and I know that probably there are aspects of your awakening that you're wondering, am I even going to get through this? Is this even a real awakening? What's happening to me? Well, you can heal from that, and I know because I managed to do it with myself and with my clients too. So once I began actually healing my spiritual awakening and repairing all the damage that was caused by the shock of awakening, some amazing things actually happened to me and my clients. So things like damaged chakras were healed, that anxious, restless, kind of nervous energy that you get in awakening was released. I started to feel calmer. I felt more together. Awakening starts, you just feel as if you're in bits, and it's flown out everywhere. I felt a lot more together, a lot more centered. I was finally able to rest and recuperate from the intensity of the shift of awakening, and my energies were recalibrated to comfortably adjust to the higher frequencies easily. So after I did the healing in those aspects on myself and my clients, I found that it was much easier to adjust to any changing energies. So I was prepared for the awakening process, and it also meant that things like new moons, full moons, astrological events didn't tip me over the edge, which they had done before. They used to really disrupt my energy system and make me feel kind of lousy. Everything started to level out, and it really changed. So it was a welcome relief. It was awesome, but it was also a welcome relief. And if you want to heal your awakening, there are a few things that you need to keep in mind. So we're going to go into some of the mistakes that can be made when you're on that journey of spiritual awakening healing, and we'll cover those so that you don't make them. Now I want to just say hello, because I saw a few others joined us. We had Jan that joined us from Minnesota. Hi there. And we had Yadavindra, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, is asking for an individual session. I don't do individual sessions. However, the resource that I'm going to be mentioning at the end of this video will do everything that I'm discussing in this topic. It will do it all for you, which is why I created them, because there just wasn't enough of me to work with all the different people who are going through awakening. But that resource will be there for everyone at the end of the video. And I'll also make sure that I answer some questions as well. Okay, now I can see Maria is asking a key point. She says, how do you know you've reached the recovery stage and you're past the awakening? Well, what I'm going to tell you is they're actually the same thing. So when you go through awakening, that state of not knowing what's going on, not knowing how to move forward, that's the part that you need recovery for. So it's not that these things are separate, because awakening will go on. It will be a whole lifelong journey. But this little part here where you're working with all the pain and the difficulty and the challenge will only be a small part of that. So those two things aren't actually separate. It's about recognising, is your awakening difficult? Is it causing challenges? Is it tough for you to move through? Well, if so, you need that recovery and you need the spiritual awakening healing to help you move past it. So I hope that clarifies it. Okay, so let's move into the 3 spiritual awakening mistakes if you're trying to heal your spiritual awakening, you won't want to make these mistakes. They're going to hold you back. And the other thing that I want to cover is, if you don't start healing your spiritual awakening, then your energy system is going to remain in this same kind of shell-shocked state, which already makes your awakening uncomfortable enough, but it's going to stay in that state. And worse than that, it's going to keep you in a state of stasis. So it tends to kind of jam your energies. So if you think of them like cogs in a machine unable to turn, they kind of all crunch and they halt and they cannot move and nothing functions properly. So if you don't heal your awakening, you're going to stay stuck in that state. And I know, because I was stuck in that state until I got into the healing aspect of it and started to get things moving again, get my energy recuperated from that initial kind of blast of energy. That initial blast of energy that begins your awakening is done in seconds. It's minutes long and it zaps you, and then your awakening just all opens up after it. So if you consider yourself to be in an awakening now, if you consider yourself to be on that pathway, and you've had some sort of experience, then you're ready for the healing aspect of it, absolutely. So let's talk about the 3 big mistakes that you can make in spiritual awakening healing. So mistake number 1 is hoping that it will get better by itself. And this one makes me really sad, because I think it's the most common mistake that I see being made in spiritual awakening healing. But it's largely born from not knowing what else to do. I was there too, like I said, looking at YouTube videos, looking through blog posts, trying to find articles, trying to find anyone who could give me a step-by-step of like, okay, you're going through awakening, right, do this, then do that, and things will get better. I couldn't find it. And that is difficult. No one really tells you what you can actually do to make it better. And unfortunately, awakening damage can leave us kind of shell-shocked. It can leave us feeling dazed, and that can last a really long time, that state. It can be so shocking to your system that it really requires a form of intervention to heal, to move forward, because of the intensity and the way things are globally and the energies that we're in now. But don't worry, we've got aspects that can help you with that. We've got something to help at the end of this video. Mistake number 2 that I see coming up is lack of self-care. Spiritual awakening is an earth-shattering, life-altering event. It is absolutely, simultaneously the most heightened experience you'll have, but it is also, it can be really traumatic. And for some reason, I don't know why, we don't consider that we need rest and recuperation. If we went through any other type of trauma in life, we would acknowledge that we need a certain time of rest, recuperation to repair. But we don't do that with spiritual awakening. We're just expected to keep going and to get on with it. We're expected to bounce back. And it doesn't always work that way. We have to pretend that something of this magnitude that blows your whole life apart hasn't really had any effect. And the truth is that we need the healing. And that also is a large aspect of spiritual awakening progress. It is one level that you will have to pass. It's a test that you'll have to pass as part of your awakening progress. Will you take care of yourself? Will you treat yourself with compassion? Will you show yourself the care and love that you would extend to others? So it's all about that compassion being not just something that you send outward, but being something that's within as well. That lack of self-care has to be transformed for you to move forward on your awakening journey. And then mistake number 3, okay, and this is probably the most important, not healing chakra damage, okay? And it is unintentional, but the high vibrational frequencies and energies that move through as an awakening can damage our chakras and can disrupt our energy systems massively. And that means that afterwards, nothing works the way that it should. And major chakras can malfunction, throwing our entire energetic system into disarray, and sometimes even making things worse than they were before. In order for us to fully awaken, we need every single chakra working at full capacity, so that we have all that spiritual energy available to us, and we can't reach enlightenment unless we're broken. If we're still broken and imbalanced, we need to have full healing on every level, and for every chakra to be working at full capacity. That's very, very important. Now, I hope that you've managed to get a handle on those mistakes. You can always ask questions, but please avoid these particular mistakes. If you don't, you're still going to be struggling with awakening. 2 months from now, 2 years from now, you're still going to be right in the same spot as you are now and stuck at the same stage, and I don't want that for you. It would be much easier for you to heal, to move forward, and actively harness the power of that spiritual awakening, because when you get out of that energy where you're shell-shocked and dazed and it's just kind of hitting off you or overcharging you, when you get to the place where you can absorb it and you can transform it and you can use it to your benefit, it's a completely different energy. Then it's something that's a power that's at your disposal. It's something that you can use to connect more deeply. You can expand your awareness. You can use your gifts and abilities. That's the space you want to get to. Very, very important. So we're going to get into the 3 steps that we have to spiritual awakening healing and fully utilising its power. We're going to get into that in just a little moment. But I can see Maria has a question. She says, are there any specific chakra damage symptoms to tell apart from the system shock or the awakening itself? Well, there can be. Sometimes what you'll find is if you, even if you look online and you look at the symptoms of a blocked chakra or a healthy chakra, you'll be able to look through them and see what's highlighted for you. But the truth is that if you're using particularly one of our healings where we're doing healing work on every single chakra, it's not necessary for you to know. It's not necessary for you to understand or recognise or spot blocks or chakra damage in order for you to heal. But what you do need to recognise is that these things could be happening without your awareness. The damage that you have that's going on is working energetically, so it will show up in things like maybe being unable to manifest, finding that your heart is closed, finding that your psychic senses either don't work or are completely expanded. There's no boundaries and it's all confusing. Finding that you don't know your way, finding that you're constantly in survival mode and you can't quite work out where to go next, finding that you can't connect. All these different issues can all be aspects that are coming from the chakras and the damage that you've sustained. So you can go into it singly if it's something that interests you. You can look up online what damaged chakras symptoms are for different chakras and look through them. But to be honest, most of it can be done in just one healing, like we're going to provide later. You don't need to know the specifics to be able to heal and move forward. So that's okay. So I hope that's answered your question. Right, let's get into the 3 steps to spiritual awakening healing and fully utilising its power, because it's very, very powerful, and all you need to do is follow our simple 3-step process. So step 1, you need to close what I call exploded chakras. Okay, now I say that lightly. This is just a term for the energy and the way that it shows once this has happened. I'm going to break it down in a little moment. You need to close exploded chakras. Step 2 is to heal damaged chakras, which is a little bit different. And step 3 is to recalibrate your energy system to adjust to these awakening energies easily. Okay, so I'm going to break it down a little bit, and if you have any questions, you can let me know. But much like the crazy levels of electricity can blow a fuse, it's the same with us. Crazy levels of high vibrational awakening energy can burst your chakras. It can literally make them pop. I've seen this energetically. It's just like they're just a burst kind of open chakra, and we're unable to use them, completely non-functioning or malfunctioning, and they just can't handle it. But they can't handle it yet. Okay, they just can't handle it yet. As a result, it quite often leaves the chakra wide open. It's not got any boundaries that you would have if it was closed appropriately, and it means that you can't close up and protect. You can't look after yourself, and that can lead to a lot of other problems and imbalances as well. But the first step is to close any burst open chakras to levels that are safe, to levels that are appropriate for you personally and in alignment with your energy system and its different needs, because everybody's a little bit different in their energy systems. Step 2 is to heal the damage of the chakras, which usually involves releasing the shock. So that's the point, is it's about getting that shocked energy out of the chakras, just like you would have to heal the shock for the physical body if you'd gone through a physical trauma. It's the same thing. We're just doing it for the chakras, for the energy system. And that step alone can reduce a lot of anxiety, a lot of nervousness and restlessness that often accompanies awakening. It's a tough symptom. And then in step 3, we need to recalibrate the energy system, really giving it a bit of a handbook, kind of showing it exactly what it needs to do to adjust, to accept these new energies, and to actively use the power that comes through in spiritual awakening that's there all the time. Those energies are there for your benefit, and you can do that without becoming frazzled in the process. And by frazzled, I mean when your symptoms amp up, when awakening gets more difficult, when you're just feeling under the weather, or emotionally you're all over the place, things that make awakening difficult. That's what we want to move past, so that you can use the energy without all the difficult symptoms. So we're going to get into that in just a little minute. But you're probably wondering, well, how do we do this? How do we do each step? It's simple, it can be quick, and it can be easy. We always advise using energy healing. That's the best way. If you're working on the energy system, you're working on the soul, work with energy healing. And not only is this the kindest way to heal your energy system, but it's also the fastest. It's the fastest way that you could move through this healing process. Changes can be made in minutes instead of days, months, or even years sometimes in the awakening process, and it's going to set your energy system up for life. It'll make your awakening much, much easier too, so it can really make huge strides for you and support you fully in your awakening, where your system's at the moment going, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what to do. It's like programming it to know what to do all the time. And don't worry if you're uncertain how to do that, we've got a resource that will assist you with that, and I'll tell you more about that in just a little moment. Okay, so let's now talk about the key to utilising the power of your awakening energies, because like I said, they are a huge resource of power. And when you're in this state where you've been shocked by awakening, which we all are, everyone going through the awakening process is shocked by awakening, and I haven't found anyone who doesn't have traces of that within their energy system. But once you've done the 3 steps that we've listed, you have changed everything. So if you follow that 3-step process, you're changing everything, because before you were not fully accessing all these heightened awakening energies anyway. They're completely going to waste. You're getting no benefit from them whatsoever. So you're not getting the benefit of them because your system's been malfunctioning. It's been too much for it to handle, and it's basically just wasted energy. Now, if you can recalibrate your energy system and get just like the way that we just mentioned, and you can actively start to begin receiving the energy instead of letting it bounce off you, instead of it not functioning properly, instead of it getting lost along the way, you can actively start absorbing that energy, and that's what changes everything. When you start doing that and your energies are flowing, your chakras are working optimally, you're finally going to be using all of that energy that's available to you. That's your gift. That's the aspect of awakening that is your gift. And it's constantly flooding your system anyway, so you might as well make the most of it. But when you do that, that's when you move into all the different joys. So you start to experience things like synchronicities, coincidences, manifesting. You didn't even mean to do it, you just mentioned that you needed something and it turned up effortlessly. Increased intuition, better connection to source, your higher self, even your guides, aligning with your life purpose, and fully accessing your healing abilities and other spiritual gifts too. It's all about preparing your energy system for the awakening process. It's so that it knows how to actively make use of these wonderful high vibrational energies that are literally pouring into your system all the time throughout awakening. It is so abundant for you right now, and if you can do that, when these energies are coming into your field, your energy system is going to know exactly what to do with it, so that it'll know how to move you forward effortlessly and how to align you with your higher self. And that's when you get into all those wonderful things I mentioned before, like aligning with your gifts, aligning with your life purpose, increased intuition. It's just fantastic when you get into that energy. It's a totally different flow than pushing against the broken aspects of awakening. It's just like it's all unfolding for you. That's where you want to be, and that's very much this energy of allowing that's spoken about so frequently. Okay, now if you have any questions, let me know below and I will answer them. So I'm going to do a little recap on everything that we've covered, and then I'll answer some questions for you. And of course, we'll talk about that resource that we've created to support you with all these changes. So here's a little recap of what we've learned so far. We've learned that spiritual awakening is happening way more quickly than ever before currently. We learned that that means that our energy systems are shocked by the intensity of the awakening process, making it much more difficult to manage and giving us a whole host of challenging signs and symptoms. We learned the benefits of healing your spiritual awakening, which are healing your damaged chakras, releasing anxious, restless or nervous energy, feeling more together and centered, finally able to rest and recuperate, which we all need on the awakening pathway, and recalibrating your energies to comfortably adjust to the awakening process. We covered 3 mistakes that you won't want to make, which was hoping it'll get better by itself, because it won't, lack of self-care, which you need to pass, and not healing chakra damage. We also covered the 3 steps to spiritual awakening healing. So close exploded chakras, heal damaged chakras, and recalibrate your energy system to adjust to the awakening energies easily. And we learned that by taking those 3 steps, we can heal and fully utilise that spiritual awakening power, that is all the high vibrational energies that are moving into our system, and gain benefits like synchronicities, coincidences, manifesting, increased intuition, better connection to source, your higher self, your guides, aligning with your life purpose, and fully accessing your healing abilities and other spiritual gifts. It's a really, really powerful thing that you can do. Now, the good news is you don't need to go to energy healers, you don't need to train, you don't need to go to expensive repeated sessions. We've created a healing resource that will do all of this for you. And if you're ready to get started on your awakening healing, you can do that right now. Our new energy healing meditation is called the Spiritual Awakening Healing, and it will repair the chakra damage. It's going to release the shock from your energy system. It's going to rebalance all your energies that have been affected by awakening, and it'll help you to recalibrate your energies so that they will support your awakening process. So it's like a complete reprogramming for your energy system to really make sure it knows how to handle these awakening energies. And you can get started in literally about 10 minutes time if you like. It's a totally different product. You won't find anything like this anywhere else, I'm sure of that. And if you haven't tried any of our meditations before, they're a special hybrid, kind of like a cross between energy healing and meditation. So you get the rest, the recuperation from the meditation. You get taken into a theta brainwave. You're just being completely relaxed. And that allows you to connect spiritually and assist you in moving into those psychic centres. And then we've got the energy healing, which will do all the activations and the healing that you need to make those changes and reprogram your energy system. And I work with a series of high vibrational spirit guides who are dedicated to helping us on the awakening pathway. So it's specifically tailored to you. It's not a one-size-fits-all meditation. They're working with you specifically. When you do the meditation and you listen to it, they make those little adjustments for you. It's a really powerful healing, and I know that you'll really enjoy it. I want you to have something that will support you. Of course, you can take it at your own pace. You can do it at home, and you can repeat it again and again to keep working through those layers. You don't need to go to a healer. You just keep working through the layers, which is fab. Okay, I'm going to answer questions in just a minute, but the meditation, the spiritual awakening healing, will heal chakras damaged or frazzled by the awakening process. It will release soul shock sustained by the intensity of that process. It will soothe hyper or overactive energies, which is really common, causes a lot of anxiety. It will rebalance all of your energies to fully support your awakening process, and it will strengthen your energy system, which is really important to handle Ascension a lot more easily. So you can check it out, the link in the description, and see if it feels like a fit for you. Now let's answer a few questions. Now if you have any other questions about everything that we covered, you can ask and I will spend a little time. I'll answer a few questions where we can. Let's see. Okay, so Cara has asked, can you explain a bit more about chakras? I've heard that genetic wounds are layer 4 of one chakra of the 7, and I'm confused as to where to start healing. Okay, well let me take the confusion out of it for everyone. There are different ways of perceiving the chakras and the way that things happen, but I'll make it as simple as the way that I see it, because this is the way that I tune into people and this is how I perceive it. Okay, You literally have like a line that moves right down the centre of the body along the spine, and you have your chakras. Now, we're meant to have 7, but I know, and many others know and have maybe perceived, we have a lot more than that. We certainly have more that are going on up here, okay, particularly when we're going through awakening. Now, as for genetic wounds, I don't personally worry about things like that within chakras, okay? When you look for genetic wounds, you're working on the genetics and your system will find its way. And of course, we've got another meditation that we did last month for that. If that's something specifically that you're looking for, you'll find it in our school at Spiritual Awakening Signs on Teachable. But as for the different chakras, it's not necessary for you to know what's going on in every single chakra. You can delve into that more if you want to. But really what's going on in the chakras is each one is responsible for a different aspect of you. Okay, so like your heart chakra is all about love and connection and how you relate to others and things like that, sending out your compassion. So it's not really necessary to know all about the chakras and what each one does to gain the benefits of it, but that is something that you can look up if it's something that you want to work on. Now, like I said, if you're looking to work on genetics, use something specifically for genetics. Forget about chakras and disconnect those two concepts, because that is going to make it confusing for you. You're going to work on genetics separately. And the chakras are really, they're not holding all your genetic stuff. Your chakras are you in this life and in all your other lives and in your soul. So that's all the information about you. So I would say work on those things separately, because that could be a little bit confusing, and it's easier if you just keep things simple. Okay, Maria has asked, does that mean that damage equals blocks? Well, it can do. Okay, so any of that chakra damage that you've been affected by when awakening began and kind of buzzed your system, totally overwhelmed it, it can create blocks. But what I tend to find most often is that rather than blocks, it just creates a complete disconnect. So your chakra is malfunctioning. It's just not able to work properly. There's not enough energy in it. It's not flowing properly, and it's not able to do the positive things that it's meant to do. Blocks tend to more often come from past lives or current life, inner child, things like that. But the damage definitely can lead to blocks. But more often than not, I find it's just that they're just not working properly. So I hope that helps. Hi to Cherish as well, she's joined us, so thank you for joining us. And hi to Sabina as well. Let's see, Elizabeth says, this is so welcome. Oh, I'm so glad it's helping. Fantastic. And Yadavindra has asked about food. I'm not really covering food in this particular video. We're keeping it all about the chakras and the spiritual awakening damage, but we may cover that in another video, who knows. I'm trying to keep it all focused on this. So if anyone else has any questions, please do let me know. Even if you're not watching live and you have a question, you can enter it and we'll get back to you. And of course, check out that link to the Spiritual Awakening Healing, because I know that it's fully going to support you in what you need to move forward in your awakening. You can heal from this. You can recalibrate everything, and that's the whole point of awakening. It's about being reborn, like that phoenix in the ashes, being reborn and recalibrating your system so that you really function at your best. That's what you want most. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and take a little look at the link below and see if it feels like a fit for you. Take care.